Hey everyone, hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to November Serger Savvy. And today we are going to be doing Christmas balls. And I think that's going to be kind of fun. And we'll show you some of the basics of that. And I'll just be working with my face camera today. And also the table camera too. I'm not going to be doing anything on the Serger today, the L890. I'm just looking. I know somebody had requested that I do put on the captions, and I saw that for how to do it before, and now today that I need it, I don't see it at all. So oh, hi Diana. Hi Liddy. Oh, bonjour in France. That's exciting. Thanks for joining. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to get in. So we're starting the Christmas season even before Thanksgiving, but I think this is a good thing because the Christmas balls do take a little bit of time to make. They're really, really fun. They're not difficult. And I'm going to walk you through the different steps of it. But they do take a little bit of time. And something that I always like to tell people is they are fantastic scrap busters because you can work with really small pieces of fabric, and there's no need to worry about grain lines or whatever you're doing. So whatever kinds of little pieces of fabric you have, it's great for that. So let's give everybody a couple of more minutes to get in. If you're joining us, just say hi in the chat, just so I know you're here and that you can hear me. And we'll just take care of a couple of little things. I also wanted to mention that on my YouTube channel, which obviously you all know about, I have a holiday playlist. So check that out because I've got different projects that are pretty quick and easy to make, not expensive, and just nice gift ideas. Hi, Sandra from New York. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. And the Christmas playlist also, or holiday playlist, hi Carol, also has a couple of other ball designs on it. There's the original one, and I'll tell you kind of a funny story. Hi from Bucks County, Utah. Pat from Kentucky, thanks for joining. Good. I'll give everybody one more minute till 5 after. But anyway, it's just a fun thing to do, but as I say, and not expensive. And I'm going to give you a few tips in the beginning also of things to look out for and to not do that, you always learn the hard way. But before we start, if you are thinking about purchasing a Bernina sewing machine, serger, software, or Burnett, any purchase over $1,000 for that item, if you haven't made the purchase already, shoot me an email and I will be very happy to send you a Bernina Ambassador appreciation rebate coupon, and this is for $100 cash. It's for the United States only, and because it's Bernina of America that offers this. And I always like to do a disclaimer in classes in person as well as online that I am a Bernina ambassador, but I do not work for them, nor do I receive any kind of commissions or monetary remuneration from them for the sales of machines. So I always like to get that out of the way so that people do know what I say is sincere, and it's because I really, really like their products and machines. So that said, also, I wanted to mention, if you're in the Phoenix, Arizona area, I will be at 35th Avenue on December 5th, 6th, and 7th for an event out there. I'll be returning. I've been there a couple of times before. Great, great people to work with, and always a lot of fun out there. And chances are it'll be warmer than Connecticut. It's very windy today, and when I saw that, I was like, ugh, I hope it doesn't do anything to the internet. So I think we're good, though. I think the wind has kind of died down. But anyway, also, one other thing is we have a little contest going for the Elena tote bag, and let me just grab one to show you. Here it is, and so we will be giving a thread fusion for one, and that contest goes till December 31st, so everybody has a lot of time to work on theirs. But if you want to send your pictures in earlier, hi Sharon from Montana, nice to see you. If you want to send photos in early, that's great, and we'll have those on file and be able to post them as we go along. That's been great. And what else did I want to mention? I think that's pretty much it. The holiday playlist on YouTube for fun gift ideas, and a couple of other ball videos that I did. And you probably, if you are on Instagram, you might have seen the reel where we ran different Christmas balls and Hanukkah balls that I did last year. But something else that I want to mention about these is that they aren't just for Christmas or Hanukkah. I made one for 4th of July also, and you can just make them just because. So they're kind of fun to do, and I have a bunch of different ones to show you, and I've got them on hangers, and I'll just mention that too. I found these hangers. There are 4 different stems on them, and they have a little round base. And these stems are removable, so you can pack these flat. I bring these with me to when I do in-person events, simply because it's very easy to show people the balls and to get them set up. I've got something to hang them on. And they're fun to put around the house and different things. And I've got so many of them that when I hang them on different places, I need a few extra hooks and things to do that. So I've got one here. I've got one in back of me as well. You can probably just see it right there. So, and I'll talk about those as well. So it's 12:09, so let's get going. Now, on these balls, I'm going to show you one that is built off of a 6-segment design. And if you think about an orange, and when you do the orange sections or segments, that's exactly the way this works. So let me pull one of them in, and I'm going to go to my table camera, and I'm going to show you. These are all kind of variations on the same theme. So I'm going to pick out a very simple one that I did, and then we'll talk about some of the variations. I can get it off the hook here. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull my table camera in and bring it down, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so I've got this, I think I have it too far away, or too close actually. Hang on a minute. Okay, so this is one of the basic designs, and I think I'm still a little too close. Hang on, let me just adjust that. That's better. That's better. Okay, so this is just, and this one actually is 8. So it's just a matter of what you want to do, like how many segments you want to make. And I'm going to explain what to do to create these. And the easiest way I find to draw the lines and get them all to be pretty close. But something I want to emphasize at the beginning of the class is that you do not need to be absolutely perfect, like within an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch or anything like that, because they're round and nobody sees them all at once. Nobody sees all the segments. And when I look at some of mine, I'm going to go back to me for a second. When I look at some of mine, I can see very clearly that some of the segments are not equal. But guess what? They're all beautiful. So don't get yourself into a big turmoil about stuff like that. Hi, Vicki. But I'll show you how I segment those. And let me just, okay, here's another one. I'm going to put this over here. Here is another one. And this one is actually 6 segments. And let me show it to you from the top. So you can see, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to show you how to segment those really easily and the steps. So let's go to the other camera. And first I want to show you what not to do. And this is an old ball. And I think this is something that a lot of people tend to do, and you don't have to be rough with the styrofoam. Oh, first of all, I recommend the smooth styrofoam. Don't get that rough, crunchy, because it's not going to work. It's going to crumble, you'll have problems, and it won't be pretty. So use the smooth styrofoam. And I've bought them by the dozen from Amazon. You can buy a single one at Michael's or Joann's or any of those places. And the size that I use is about a 4-inch ball. You can get them larger, you can get them smaller. So it's up to you what size you want to do, but it would be the same process no matter what size that you do use. So, and this is the one I want to show you. So let me show you up close what not to do. Okay. Do you see how this is all kind of pitted and grooved and kind of yucky? Don't do that. When you draw your lines on, all you have to do is be very gentle with the ball. And that brings me to another thing. And this is something that, you see how beaten up that one is? And I saved that to show people because that's what you don't want. So, hi Dorothy, hi from Michigan. Let me go back to me for just a second. So, when you're doing these, I'll talk about some of the things that you're going to need. You're going to need your smooth styrofoam ball. And when I ordered a bunch of these by the dozen on Amazon right at the beginning of the pandemic, I started noticing when I was working that I would see little flat spots in the styrofoam ball as I was working. And I was like, what's happening with these balls? Well, what it is that I think the manufacturers, hi Kenneth from San Diego, good to have you. What I think happened with the manufacturers is I think they were putting more air into the styrofoam manufacturing. So it was very easy to just put normal pressure on when you're holding it and cutting it or drawing your lines or whatever, that sometimes your thumb would create a flat spot just from holding it. So you want to be careful. I had ordered some last year that seemed to be a little more solid again. This is something that just happened a few years ago with those, but something to be aware of. So when you're handling the individual balls, do you see that flat spot right there? Be gentle with them, because I think that the manufacturers are putting less styrofoam and more air into them, and therefore they're a little more prone to getting flat spots in them if you press against them. And I also had one that I brought in my luggage for traveling, and it's got a dent in it, and I think it was probably just from the way the luggage was handled, and it probably got tossed around, and even though you put it in bubble wrap, whatever. So I just dropped my X-Acto knife. Let me grab that. So, and let me talk about what you're going to need. So I use a little X-Acto knife, and these are very, very sharp. Be careful with them. You want to just be careful and keep your thumb and fingers out of the way if you're cutting down on the ball. What I like to do to create the segments on mine is I use elastic bands, and I find that these grip the styrofoam ball very nicely, and I can draw my lines on them carefully. So what I like to do is, let me go back to my other camera. I think I'm going to move my little hanger off of here just to give me a little bit more room, and I'll pull some of these in. Okay, so what I've done is I have put my elastics on, and on these balls, you will see, and I hope I can point it out to you. Every one of these styrofoam balls, I think they're created kind of in hemispheres. And I'm going to put this over here so you can hear me better too. And I apologize. I thought I had the closed captioning done, and as I said, now I can't find it. So anyway, you will see a seam on the ball. Let me back it out. And that's like my equator. And typically, someplace on the top, you'll see a little spot like this, and one on the opposite side right here that are like the North and South Pole. And that's what I use for my landmarks. So I take my elastic bands, just like this. Let me back this in a little more. And I put them around the North and South Pole and kind of make sure that they're at a 90-degree angle to the equator. Then I take a pen, and what I like to say to get your segments relatively equal is if you start to draw your lines all on the right side or the left side of the elastic, do the same side all the way around. So I have got my lines drawn, or I will draw them on here. So I'm going to start, and you just gently, I find a pen works nicely. You're going to come around, down, flip it around. Let me see if I can get a better angle on this. Flip it around. I'm having trouble getting myself oriented. I'm usually flat when I do these, do this table camera. Flip it around, draw all my lines, and now I'm on the right edge of the elastic. It's opposite in the picture, but I'm gonna put it all the way around real quick. And this plain one with just the 6 segments is the one that you'll see already on YouTube. And today I'm just going to show you a variation on the same theme. All right, so I think I've got all of my lines, maybe one more over here. And the thing that I like about using the elastic is it grips the styrofoam pretty easily. Oops, I missed drawing on that one. I can just see it faintly. Okay, and then you can just roll it off, and then you've got all of your lines drawn all the way around. Now these are going to be my cutting lines, and I'm going to back this camera out just a second. Let me go to me so that you're not getting dizzy. Let me just bring it up a little more so that we can see. And I just wondering, let me just try this and see what this looks like. I think that's a little bit better. Okay, good. So I've got my lines drawn. Now, the one that we're going to do today is really pretty. And let me show you a finished one. I did this one on a Hanukkah theme because my husband is Jewish. So here are, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments right here. And then what I did was I created a band around the center and did little triangles from point to point. So just for variation. But again, you can see it's the start with the 6 segments. And then I measured 1.25 inches. So let me go to the one that we're going to be working on and show you. So I have got my 6 segments, and this is what I'm talking about for a little flat spot. Now, if you do have a flat spot on the ball, don't worry about it, because once the fabric is over, at first I thought it was a big tragedy and I tossed them out and everything else. And then I realized that once you've got the fabric over it and you've got it all decorated and everything else, guess what? No one's ever going to see it. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So that's a good thing. And I'm going to see if... No, I think I'm good on that. Okay, so what I did was I put my elastic on. I drew my 6 segments with the pen, and I just used a regular ballpoint pen, whatever you use. But I find a ballpoint pen slides easily on the balls. So that is good. And then what I did was I took a tape measure, and this is a random measurement. It's whatever width you want it to be. But I found that if I measured about 1.25 inches around the equator, that was a nice width for these little triangle pieces of fabric to go in. And so what I did was I did some dotted lines on the equator just so that you could see them. And what I did was I put my tape measure at the 5/8 inch mark, because 1.25 inches is 10/8. So I did a line right here where my left thumb is, and a line down here, and that gave me the 1.25 inches. If you wanted a narrower band, that's perfectly fine. And if you want to make the band plain without these little triangles in them, you could also do that. So these are all, again, variations on the same theme. And so I started this one already just to show you what we're going to do. I chose 2 fabrics for my triangles, and then I had 3 different fabrics for the top and the bottom segments. And even though they look like they kind of don't necessarily go with each other, once you get your serger chains on and everything all decorated with your crystals or beads or buttons or whatever you want to put on it, it pulls the whole thing together. But the thing that I like to mention is that my top and bottom orange segments are always the same on the top and bottom. But that's me. If you wanted to do this fabric here and say this fabric over here, definitely you could do that. It's up to you. Another thing that I wanted to mention, and this is a good example of it, is if you have a fabric with a large motif on it, like a bird fabric or any kind of large motif, keep in mind that when you do this, because you're doing small pieces of fabric, you may lose what that motif actually is. And does it make any difference? Probably not. But if it's something that you want to really show off, then you might want to do a plainer ball that has just linear segments in it. And let me just show you one of those. Something like this. And this is another 6 segment ball. So this is this one. And what I did with this one was I used 3 serger chains that I glued side by side without any space in between them. But if you wanted to show something with a definite motif that you wanted to be able to get a feel for what that motif is, you might want to just do a full length of that piece of fabric rather than little pieces and hemispheres of it. So that's this one. And again, and I can show you how I swirled that because it all starts with the orange segments, with the 6 segments together. So that's that one. And here is another one that is, again, the 6 segments. But all I did, I skipped the band of the triangles in the middle, and I just did the top and bottom fabrics. And these I did alternate them, and it's very pretty. So there are so many variations, and each one looks different. And they're all look pretty. They're all really nice looking. So, and these I just did with crystals on it. And it looks like it would be really expensive. But believe me, I don't spend a lot of money on crystals because I go to Michael's or Joann's, usually Michael's, and I'll pick them up. And oftentimes they have sales and coupons and all that stuff. And I've got quite a collection of them. Let me just show you. I've got them all in here in this bag. So I've got lots of different colors and stuff. But believe me, none of them were expensive. They look really effective and pretty on the balls themselves, but none of them are expensive. So leave that to be. So let's take a look at how we actually do this. Now, I've already cut some of my fabrics up. And these pretty batik Christmassy ones are like holly, and the green one is pine cones. You can see. These are the ones that I'm using for that triangle in the middle. And I'm alternating these colors. And what I'm doing is on those lines that you drew, let me go back to that camera so I can just demo that so you can see it. Okay, let me move this out of the way. This is the one I just drew, and these are just the plain lines for right now. And I wonder, I think I'm going to move that out of the way too. Let me see if I can flip this. I just feel like I'm upside down. Here we go. Okay, that's better. All right, so what I have is my 6 segments. I have my X-Acto knife. Now, I start right at the top, and I hold it gently, and I use my lines that I drew as my cutting lines, just like a piece of fabric almost. And all you have to do is go in about maybe 1/4 of an inch. You don't have to dig in really hard, and try not to press super, super hard as you go along. So I'm just going, and keep your hands away from being in front of that blade, only because it's dangerous. And I will tell you that on the first video I did a few years ago showing the Christmas balls, let me go back to me for a second. Just as I was saying to the camera, keep your fingers away from in front of the blade, because sometimes it can slip. Just as I said it, it did slip, and I cut myself, and I had to stop the video because I had blood all over the the styrofoam ball, and I couldn't get it off. And did I have another one to just keep going? Of course not. So I had to run out to I think I had to run out to the local Michael's, go get another one, and start all over again. So we don't want any accidents with that. And as I said, these are sharp. So let's go back here and keep going on this. So here I've already got this one cut, and let me just tighten up the blade just to make sure it stays still. So I start at the top. I try not to put it on the table because I find that the tendency is to press too hard, and then I've got a real deep flat spot in the ball. So it's just going along here. Take your time for this section. And the X-Acto knives you can pick up, I'm sure probably almost everybody has one somewhere in their house for something. So I would just continue cutting along all of these lines, and then if I went across, I would do any of the other lines as well. So that's enough of seeing how to do that. But just hold it gently and don't dig super deep, just about 1/4 of an inch, but try not to put a lot of pressure on. The Styrofoam is really soft and easy to work with. So no worries as far as that goes. Now, on the one that we're working on today, as I said, I measured, I made my lines vertically from my orange segments. Then on my equator, which is where you see the dotted line, I did that in case the camera had a hard time picking up the seam line. I measured 5/8 of an inch above and 5/8 of an inch below, drew lines, and that's my band. And then I just eyeballed each segment of the orange slice for the center mark and drew a line. I just free-handed it, drew a line from the center of the orange segment to each line. And those created my triangle. So that made that very easy. So now we are ready. We've got all our markings done. Also, the other thing is, if you're using a light colored fabric, say with a white or a cream background that you can see through very easily, don't do anything like these markings, because believe me, they will show through. And in fact, I did some Easter eggs one year, and I used a Sharpie marker, which I never should have done because it was way too dark black, and it showed through, and it almost looked like some of the bunnies were in the crosshairs, which was unintended completely. So let me just show you how to do the fabric on this, and I'm going to bring the camera in just a little bit closer and angle this in. So now, again, you do not need to be on any particular grain line. Just cut your piece of fabric. I like to cut it big enough to manage and have enough to trim away afterward, but don't have it be so big. In fact, this is probably too big. But just to show you, what I like to do is I get it over the segment that I'm going to be using right here. I'm going to do this triangle. I'll bring it over, and then I kind of do my peek test to find out where is my little crevice. And I hold it in midair, and I flip my X-Acto knife to the non-blade side, the dull side, to do this. And let's start down at the bottom. And, oops, I'm not on camera. And I just gently tuck it into the crevice as I go along. Then I go to the other side, and I like to start at the wide side of the design. And you want to make sure that you don't have any excess fabric either. You want to make sure it's nice and taut as you're going along. Let me find where I'm looking for, right here. Okay. Let me get that out of the way so you can see. And basically, you're just tucking it into that crevice, and you don't have to tuck it really deep either. This is hard to see with this dark green, but I'll do a red one so that you can see it a little bit better. So that's that side. And now I've got one more side to do. And I just kind of have to find my crevice again. Boy, that is showing up really dark on camera. So I'll do a red one. All right, so these are tucked in. Then I take a pair of small, sharp scissors, and I have been looking for my little Kai scissors that I brought to the Houston Quilt Festival, and I haven't found them yet. But now what I do is I lay my little scissors flat right next to where that crevice is. You know what? Let me put the light on and see if that makes a difference too. Yes, that's a little bit better. I lay my fabric or my scissors flat right along where that seam is and trim off as much of the excess fabric as I can get at. And you probably won't get all of it the first try. So don't worry about that, because you may want to just go back in and kind of tuck it in a little bit more. So I trim those away, and it looks messy beforehand, but don't worry about that. So there's that, and then let me get this last side. And then I'll do a red one so you can actually see what I'm doing. I apologize. I wasn't thinking it was going to show up quite so black. So here's this. Now this is too much fabric sticking out here, so I would go back and give that another little bit of a haircut. And then what you're going to do afterwards, before you apply your serger chain or your ribbon or whatever you want to add for doodads, you could just go along again with the non-blade side of your X-Acto knife and gently do a little bit more tucking. But let's go and show a red one so that you can actually see it a little bit better. So here's the red batik. I thought this was so pretty. I got this last year. I think I got it down at Colchester Mills. All right, so let me start up here. I think that shows, yes, you can see that a little bit better. Tucking. And then let me find my other lines and come down. And I like to keep it smooth. But you can see all you need is relatively small pieces of fabric. And I pick it up off of the table just so that I don't end up with those little flat spots. Did I forget to cut? No, I cut it. Okay. I just think I'm not in the right spot for this. Here we go. Just like this. So you can see two things done. And then I'm going to go to the other side. Finish that triangle also. And the reason I like to use the other side of my X-Acto knife is because it's skinny, and I'm not going to cause a big, deep rut in the styrofoam itself. It's going to stay pretty thin. And when you're tucking one fabric against another like this, sometimes you do have to give it a little bit more enthusiasm on your tucking. Keeping my scissors nice and flat. And I suggest small scissors. I had tried my bigger scissors and they're just way too big and bulky. And I just lay that blade flat against the ball to trim it as close as I can. And you can still see that's sticking out a little bit more. So I can just go back and just tuck in. You don't have to completely tuck those raw edges. If you have a tiny bit sticking out, it's going to be hidden when you put your ribbon or your serger chain on. So it's not critical that you get rid of it all. So cut all the way around, and then I go back and look, and if anything needs a little added tucking, just like here, I can get that done, which is great. And tuck in that little point as well. So you can see it's starting to shape up. Now, I'm going to go up to the top and do, I've got my green and my white background ones. So I'm going to pick this up. Now this one, I have some pieces. You can see that there are pine cones on it. Also, there are birds on it, which I completely lost, other than the tail on this one, and I think the wing on this one. But no big deal at all, and it doesn't really matter how it goes. I have another one, though. Let me just show you this one before we go and do this. Keep your wastebasket nearby for those little scraps, too. This one, I love this fabric in the black and green. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It starts with the 6 orange segments. But this one has little cardinals on it, which I think are pretty. Now, on this center motif, rather than doing a band all the way around, what I did was I just measured up from the equator and created diamonds and brought them instead of the band that went around and doing triangles. So you can see how all of these kind of riff off of those 6 segments to begin with. And they're just variations on the same theme. So let's go to one of the front segments, and you can see I've got my polka dot leggings on today. Where am I? Okay, so here we are. Let me show you this on the table camera so you can really get oriented. All right, so here we are. Here is, let me get oriented too. Okay, yes. So here we are with our triangles that I just did. And now I'm going to tip it and put in my red fabric right here. So let's go to the table camera again. All right, and it's the exact same thing. So I'm going to put this up. Now this is kind of, believe it or not, this is a little bit of a big piece, but I just wanted to be sure I had enough to work with. You don't want to go super big on your pieces, only because it's a lot of fabric to end up managing, which can be a pain. Just bring that down. I'll start over here and tuck. And if you find you've got like a wrinkle in the fabric here or something like that, all you have to do is pull it out, smooth out the fabric, and retuck, which is kind of nice. Or if you decide, gee, I don't like the way that fabric looks, let me switch where it is, you can do that too. So nothing at this point is permanent. And then we tuck in here. And this little corner with this tucked. I think you can see it. Bring it over. And sometimes I like to encourage the outside edge of the fabric to go in, just so that I don't pull on the center part and pop the fabric out by accident. But again, if you do, you can just fix it. It's no big deal at all. Get that corner. Okay, so these are tucked, and then same thing, I'm going to trim away my excess fabric. And actually, these little Kai scissors are great for this too. And these are kind of nice because they have a curve on them, so you don't dig into anything that you don't want to cut, which is, I guess, a really good thing. And I just keep those scissors very flat against what I'm working on. Whoops. Let me move this out and back in a little bit. Okay. And I just pulled this out a smidge, so and as you can see, you get a lot of tiny little scraps. And if you like to save them, that's fine. I usually, at this point, would toss those. Okay, and I just pulled my point out a little bit, so let me retuck that. That's good. Oh, and this little edge. And now, at something like this, I'm tucking this piece. There are already two pieces kind of sharing the same crevice. So you have to just be kind of careful and get it tucked in and make it snug. And just get that little excess fabric tucked in as well. Right here. So that's that one. And then we can go and do the opposite side. And sometimes I have to lift the fabric just to see where I am and get myself oriented in the right spot and make sure I'm on camera. I apologize. Hi, Pamela, from the Adirondacks. Pretty country up there. I bet you had great foliage up there, too. Okay. Bring that down. And now we'll do that bottom segment right along here. I think I need this down closer. Hang on. That's better. Yeah. You think you've got all your camera angles figured out ahead of time, and then you find out, not so much. So we'll tuck all of these in, just like that. Pretty well tucked. And just here. Actually, this is much better. It's much closer. And let me give you that real close-up of trimming. And you can see how there are little raw edges peeking out. No big deal there. Okay. And now this little edge came out. And this is what I'm talking about. It's easy to fix anything that needs tucking. So just poke it in there, just like that. And sometimes I might go and recut just a little more off. But most of the time, as long as it's not too much fabric, I'm good to go. And I know, let me go back to my face again. The first time I did these with one of my sisters, she was really pushing hard against the fabric to tuck it in. And I said, you don't have to push so hard. And she said, well, I want to make sure it doesn't fall out. Trust me, it's not going to fall out. So as long as it's tucked in, it will stay put, because you have to remember on these seams, there's no stress. It's not like a garment or a tote bag or a purse where you're going to be stuffing stuff inside of it. Once it's tucked in, it'll stay put. Then the finishing touch on this is I love to do serger chains with either 8-weight threads or 12-weight threads, or sometimes a combination of both. Let me show you a few things. So I would just go around on this, finish up all of my segments, and get this done. And I will post a picture of this maybe later this week, because this is pretty well done, other than for the serger chains and the crystals. And if you don't want to put crystals on, it'll look beautiful. If you don't want to do serger chains, you could use ribbon or other types of trim. Or if you wanted kind of, maybe not quite as dressy a look to the Christmas ball or holiday ball that you're doing, you could even use something like, not exactly twine, but you could use something a little bit rougher than that, just for that kind of country look to it. And so you don't necessarily have to use serger chain. I do it because I'm a serger person and I love doing it. And also the beauty of the serger chains is you can customize them to pull in as many colors as you want. And oftentimes I end up running excess off, and I save it. I put it in a little Ziploc bag and I save those chains. And the other things that I want to talk to you about is how do you put those chains on. So I'm going to show you on a segment of this, and I'm just going to grab one of my ready-made chains, and you can go onto that holiday playlist and see how I make those. And I think I will pick, let me find one that has enough length on it for what I need. Oh, this will be pretty. Okay, so I've got these serger chains, and I want to show you up close what those look like as well. So here they are, really pretty. This, I used 3 different colors on this. And these are all 12-weight threads, the metallics. I used a green metallic, red metallic, and gold metallic. These are the Wonderful 12-weight metallic threads. I'm trying to think I think they're called Glamour. I think their accent 12-weight rayons are non-metallic, but I wanted something a little bit sparkly for these, so you can see how pretty this is. And then I have mentioned before, when I make my tassels, after I run off a few yards of the chain, the other thing that you want to do is press it, because that gets out all of the little kinks and irregularities in the stitching. I just run my iron along that, and it smooths out the chain and makes it look nice and flat, and keeps the stitching looking very regular. So I'm going to move all of my little scraps out of the way here. And let's take a look at how you do that. Now, the other thing that I like to have on hand, I use gem tack. And the woman who styles my hair, who cuts my hair, shows horses, and she uses gem tack. She does a lot of custom jackets for other equestrians at shows, where she will do thousands, and I do mean thousands of crystals on a top and different designs. And I said to her one time, what do you use? Because obviously if people are riding horses, the crystals have to stay on. She said she uses gem tack and she's never lost one. So, but I will say I have occasionally, simply because a lot of times I am packing those holiday balls to go to different shows and things like that. And you know, the airline people are not super gentle with things, and the bags get thrown around, and sometimes they get jostled and things can fall off. But you can just put them right back on again. But I like gem tack. It works really well, and it has this little bead. But what I like to do is I grab a piece of paper, whatever is around, and I put it down, and I will take a little glob of the gem tack. Let me show you on the other camera. I've got my paper, and I'll take this down because I find this works and controls it a little more easily. If I can get it out of the bottle. I haven't used this for a while. Oh, here it comes. Okay, so I will just take a little piece like that. I'll put my cover back on. Then I take something very skinny, and I have this old crochet hook from who knows where. It might have been my grandmother's. And you can see there's still glue on it from other ones. But I find that this works well. And I will take a bead of the glue right down. I'll come right along a seam line. Let me move this in. And I think I need, let me get a little bit better focus on this if I can. There we are. Okay. So I will just take a little bit of this at a time, go along a seam line. And this dries clear. And I'll talk to you about that with the crystals too. You don't want to overdo it, but you need enough here that the chain will stay on. And then I just start this right at the top, and I just press it on gently, right on. And I don't press it into the seam per se. I just press it right on top of it, and then I trim it. Now, it's going to end right at the seam. And the reason I do the vertical ones first, let me get this little end secured. The reason I do the vertical ones first is because I can go around and hide every single little end of the serger chain with the one that goes around. Now, I also mentioned that on another one that I showed you, let me show it to you up close, this one, I did, I think, 3 chains, and these were thicker. These I used 8-weight threads on, and I put them all together. So that was a really pretty variation that I did on this one. But what I would do is go around, I would do each one of my vertical seams down to the center band right here, And then I would go around the center band on the top and the bottom. And then part of the reason that I like to use the crystals on these little intersections is, guess what? It hides that beginning and end of the chain. So it acts kind of as a beautiful embellishment, but also it hides any intersections of the chain that I'm using. So let me just show you that too on these. This one is a good one to show because this is, I'm going to get that glue out of the way so I don't wreck these. I used a double chain on these, and because I had a wider place to hide with this, let me see if I can focus that a little more. There we go. I used the bigger crystals on that, and I just put them along here. And these are all random ideas for decorating. On the bottom of it, underneath this crystal, I have a blue thumbtack. That's all that is. And I put a little bit of glue under it to hold it because thumbtacks are short and I wanted to make sure it stayed put. I did the same thing on top, and I used my serger chain as my hanger, but to dress up the thumbtack on the top, I put a crystal on top of that. And these have all held really nicely. But what I did with these is, because this doesn't have the band, it just has the equator basically on this, I went the full length from top to bottom, and actually I might have even gone around the whole thing on each seam just once as I went around, and it made it very easy to work with. So let me go back to me. Are there any questions about that at all? About how to do any of this or any of the equipment? So basically, what you want is, you want your styrofoam ball, your scraps of fabric, your X-Acto knife. I use a pen. You can use a pencil also. Just don't press too hard with the lead. You'll get a lighter line, which might be advisable in some cases. But you have to remember, with the black pen or a blue ballpoint pen, you're cutting along that line and tucking that fabric into that seam, so you don't have to worry about those lines really showing. And so the X-Acto knife, you might want a tape measure, because these are easy to go around a sphere. Very easy to do that. Or if you have one of those little clear rulers that's very thin and bends, that also will work. I like the gem tack for attaching the serger chain along the seam. Let me show that to you one more time. Gem tack. And if you want crystals, beads, and let me just show you one other one with beads on it and what I did. I think it's this one. Okay, so on this one, I use just the old-fashioned common pins, the silver common pins. And let me put it under the other camera. I think you'll see it a little better. Put these out of the way. I use beads, and I pop them in along the seams with those little silver common pins. And it was super easy to do. And then I also added in some crystals. And again, you can see those crystals are at the points on these balls, and they're hiding the intersection of those serger chains where they begin and end. So they do double duty. Oh, that's a red thumbtack. That's all that is. And I did a red thumbtack on the bottom too. And you can pick those up at Staples or any office supply place very easily. So are there any questions at all on that, let me see. I don't see. Let me go up. I don't see any questions at all. But if you think of any and you want to try this out, don't be intimidated. It's super easy to do. It does take a little bit of practice to kind of get the hang of it, but no, it's not anything that's brain breaking at all. And you'll probably see reels of mine showing. Last year, every single day in December, we showed a different ball that I had done, and that's kind of fun. But if you think in terms, you could even do one for Thanksgiving with harvesty looking fabrics that you have. If you've got little things that you have made with table runners or placemats and stuff like that, or wall hanging. And I think I'm going to take a picture of the one and only thing I ever paper pieced ever, and I did it a million years ago. It's a turkey wall hanging, and I put it up every year for Thanksgiving, and my sister liked it so much I made one for her, and those are the only ones that I've ever paper pieced. Since then I've not done it, and it was really fun and easy. But I'll post a picture of that because it's a cute turkey thing. It's well over 20 years old, but it stays up for a little while until I put all my Christmas stuff up. But if you think of questions going along afterwards, shoot me an email. I will always get back to you very quickly. You know that. And I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe and happy holiday. We'll have a small group this year. I think we'll have 17 for Thanksgiving, and then we're going to have 17 for the day after too. So we get pretty much the whole family of people who had to go or were having dinner at different places on the actual holiday. But I want to wish all of you a great Thanksgiving, and keep an eye out. I will be doing some specials that I'll announce for Black Friday. And that'll be coming up before we know it. And Thanksgiving, as you know, is less than a month before Christmas. So it's kind of a short season this year, and I think it is next year as well. But anyway, drop your comments in. Let me know if you have any questions about this whole process, and I will be very happy to help you. Or if you have questions about a specific design that you see when we do the reels and all of the different Christmas balls. I only showed you a few of them today. But if you have a question about how to configure the lines and design those, let me know, and I will be very happy to help you. So in the meantime, stay well and keep on sewing and serging especially. And again, if you are thinking about a new Bernina or Bernat machine or software and you haven't purchased it yet, this has to go forward from today. Shoot me an email. This is in the U.S. only, because it's Bernina of America that's saying thank you for the $100 rebate. I just sent out a couple earlier this week, and so I have those, and let me know. But thanks for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Take care.